Well, good morning. It's another day at the castle. We don't have much of a view this morning. It is really foggy. But we plan on stacking the rest of this 11-foot tall wall out today. We plan on getting our braces on and maybe all the strapping. That might be quite hopeful, but let's get this day going. Okay, first thing first, I have a new load of seepage 5s. That means I can make my ramp easier to get raw material up inside here. As you guys saw on the last video, we got 5 courses stacked. We do have to go 11 feet, so we have 6 more courses to go. Pretty confident that's 11 feet. Might end up being 12 feet, but somewhere close to that. But I'm gonna get some rock, expand this over just a little bit. I know I'm starting to run into my wood product here, but get this more square to the door and bring that slope out here so that I can walk up there nice and easy. Just like a guy said in the comments, I'd have made temporary steps. Yeah, I probably should have done that, but I also knew I was going to have a rock ramp here, and then I'll take some of that rock back off before it's over with. But let's get this ramp sloped properly to make my work and life a little easier. Uh-oh. Looks like my battery might be low. Dang it. You know you want to, Massey. Oh, man. Here's the unfortunate part about this. I was trying to get you guys a nice little clip of the tractor starting up. The Jeep needed some parts put on it. I don't have a vehicle here. I need a tractor to build that ramp. Oh boy, this is just getting ugly. Uglier and uglier by the minute. Well, that went really well, because when you have good friends like owners of Bozarth Auto out of Cannleton, Indiana, they'll bring a jump pack to you.
We'll take care of you.
All right, thank you, sir. I appreciate you.
No problem.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but I sure like the looks of that. Let's take the first walk now that I consider this finished. Oh my goodness gracious. Fine tune that edge right there just a little bit. Well, that's where it's at. That is where it's at. And yes, I got to get a piece of plywood over top of that yet. That's honestly probably the next step of the process. You guys saw me packing in quite a bit of new bundles. We've got, for sure, 6 more courses to do, as mentioned earlier. Oh my goodness, you guys are dirty. So it's actually lunchtime. We're gonna grab some lunch and get back at it. Well, my mom and dad stopped by to check on me. They knew it was hot and they were worried about me, but I have been stacking this out a lot on time lapse instead of stacking it out on regular video like this for you guys. So I know I've explained some of it, but I just want to show you how easy this is. This course is already set. You can see this course here on the right hand side is overhanging. Make sure you can see, yeah, is overhanging a little bit. The reason for that is I don't have my corner on yet, and I'll just trim this off. That's the only waste that I'll have. But since this seam is here and below that, it is a full block coming all the way over to here. Full block being a block that has not been trimmed. That's 4 feet end to end. It is, I mean, it is realistically big kid Legos. You guys just saw that slip down there. Look on the outside there for just a second to make sure it's seated really good. Give it a few good taps. There's a block. Walk over here, grab another one. They do come in packs of 4. Again, here's the seam. You want to make sure when you put a full block on, you're at least, at minimum, can be more, but at minimum 2 studs past that seam. Again, tap her down. That's all it takes to stack this stuff. That's why I'm able to be, I'm not fast by no means. I'm not gonna work myself to death, but it doesn't take long to stack out a wall by yourself. And as you guys noticed on the crawl space pour the stem walls, there's a lot more work to stem walls than a full wall. Essentially, now that I am 6 foot tall with these block, I can't reach the next one. So once I get one more course all the way around and get that trimmed, obviously you guys know I've got to do some funky stuff back here to make that work. But once I get that next course on, then I get to go over, open up, pop the seal on the Plumbwall braces, and I will install braces in the proper locations down through here all the way around. And then on those braces there'll be a pick board. So then I do have a ladder here. Use my 12-foot ladder to get up on the pick board. That's why I stack this material so tall. I'm hoping I can just drag it over to one side, whichever side I'm working on, and pull from the top, because I'm going to be up high and it's just me here by myself. So haven't quite figured out how I'm going to keep from going up and down off the pick board yet, but I will figure that out. Maybe I'll just lay it up there on the pick board, because I think I'm going to use a 2x12. So let's get this last course on, and then we're going to throw some braces on. One thing everybody needs to remember here about the castle, this is not your typical ICF job. This is a very crazy ICF job. Typically, you would have 4 corners, or some inside corners and some outside corners, and your 4 ICF walls would all tie together because you're making an entire structure. We're only doing 3 walls here, and that's not to mention how this wall leans. So this in here is very, very unstable. And again, I'm going up 11 or 12 feet, so this is going to have concrete in here and lots of pressure. So this is going to do some funny stuff. And I know this block here to this seam does not have anything on the back side. You guys have seen that as well. So I'm going to run 2x4 strapping out here into the more solid block on every course, knowing that each course is flimsy. And then I'm probably going to screw a board to the back side of that, and everywhere I can hit a rock. I may throw a tap con in there, and that's something I can silicone shut later, and or put some grout in there, assuming I tuck point all of this before this is done. We'll see about that, but that should ensure that it ties it to the castle. I can use my braces to get the wall really straight and plumb. And then out here, the braces can act normal. On that entire wall, the braces can act normal. And since I'm not cutting the back side off of that wall like I am this wall behind us, those braces over there can act normal as well. So I'm only putting 2x4s there because of this application. You normally would not have 2x4s like that. If that had the back side of the block, I honestly would put no 2x4s on that whatsoever and wouldn't be concerned at all. But since it doesn't have a back, we got to put some 2x4s on it. So let's get some 2x4s on, and then I will show you guys putting the braces up. So when you're fastening any strapping on, we just use a regular old coated deck screw. This is a 3-inch long, number 10 I think it is. 9, 3-inch by 9. So you don't want to put your strap at the crack, because what I'm trying to support is these short pieces of block that do not have anything on the back side. So the best way to do this, especially when you're a one-man show, is put it in the center. Give yourself a screw here that holds the board so that you can work your way down both sides. Now, if you guys remember, I said I really need a board right here off of this inside. We need to use a long board. There you go. That's how loose that sucker is. So if I stage this in here, hoping that it doesn't fall over on my head, that's going to go off the end of these boards to hold that in even better by tap conning it to the rock. So we'll run those back boards up over flush and then screw this one off to that face. And we might not be going quite that tall, but you get the idea. So let's get the first one on here. Again, this does not have to be perfect, but if you start in the center of your board, it makes it a lot easier for one guy to do it. You do not want to over tighten these screws. Same thing with the braces once we get to that point. You do not want to over tighten those screws at all, or that will strip out and it'll hold essentially nothing. You do not have to use every single stud. I go every other. But where there is a seam that I'm trying to keep, I will go like this seam here. I'll go that stud and that stud. That ensures it ties that seam to this block and carries that the rest of the way out. We're going to finish screwing this off. Put you guys on time lapse. Screwing this off. Yeah, I'm not screwing off today, but I am screwing off today. And then we'll put one on every single course because of this floppy wall. Normally, again, you do not have to do that. I'll put you guys on time lapse and get these straps on. The moment I've been waiting for, using my brand new Plumbwall braces. So as stated when I was unstrapping it, it's been a while since I've used them, so it might take me a minute. You guys saw me standing these up against the wall on time lapse. Well, yep, first mistake. Each one of these has multiple pins in it. You do not touch that pin and you do not touch that pin unless you want to adjust the height of your walkboard. I know for a fact that we're going to be at minimum 11 feet tall. That wall right now is 6 feet. So if we stretch a tape measure from the platform or base of the brace, this is your hinge point, not the top pin, but the bottom pin. And that is 6 foot 6.5 inches, and we know for a fact that we're going to be at least 11 foot tall, and if we end up being 12, that means the hose of the pump truck, if you're a 6 foot guy, is going to be right about chin level. So if we have to go 12 courses, this is not going to be optimum, but if we can go 11 courses, this is going to be optimum because it'll essentially put the hose right about your chest. And we're assuming that this is going to be an 11 foot tall wall. So we're going to leave it there, get this one out, show you guys how to install it, and then I'll time lapse the rest of them. But I may end up adjusting them up just a little bit to ensure we're covered. Oh, there's that word again. To ensure we're covered for 12 foot in case we need it. Because I am measuring to that red line from the floor, and it's a little over 11 foot. I'm trying to figure out is that perfect. So let's start here, and I may actually go in and remeasure my floor distances to make sure that that red line is accurate. But to install these, honestly, one guy can do it. It'd be nice if you had one guy packing, one guy installing. But these pins just pull right out. Then you go to the bottom, pull this pin out. Keep those pins because you're going to need them. And you guys see how that just slides right up in there, and then it'll lock. That lock has to be down, and then this entire surface is there for you to put a walkboard on. You take your brace, leave your foot out there and no man's land around. You want to put it on a stud. These orange lines are studs. Once you get it stood up here, you should probably have the drill in your hand. And I don't, but you want that foot to be flat. And then you adjust this. There's multiple holes in this square tubing. And you find the end of this, line it up with a hole. That puts you right there on your wall. Take your pen out of your pocket. Now that brace can't go anywhere except maybe flop over. And if I had the screw gun in my hand, that wouldn't even be close to happening. So let's get the screw gun here. And I know I showed you guys what we do with strapping. We use the screws for decks. When it comes to these braces, what we like to use is these 1/4 inch head size metal roofing screws, because you really don't need a long screw going in here. You just need to penetrate the stud, and you guys can see those slots in there. And what you want to ensure you do, whoop, there's that word again, is put at least one screw in every course is preferred. So we find our stud, get our brace square and slid up against it. Again, do not over tighten these screws. Now all I have to do is put 6 more screws in, and this brace is screwed off. Yes, this cross member sometimes makes it difficult to get a screw in this course. So if there is one course that does not have a screw in it, it is not going to be a showstopper. But just understand, you want to keep an eye on that course to make sure that it doesn't bow out further than everything else, because if it starts to bow out, you definitely want to get a screw in there. But sometimes that's the only screw that's kind of tough. So that's how you install a Plumbwall brace. And then to give you a little bit more specifics before just talking about install, once you get your walls stacked out, again, those are 10 foot. So I'm going to be 1 foot above that for sure. They make extensions. I'm going to borrow some extensions. And then when you adjust this wall, it's one nut, adjust this entire leg from right here. And you can see how far out that is. You don't want to be full stroke whenever you fasten everything down, because you're going to screw this foot off as well. If this is at full stroke and you can't push the wall out, well, then you don't have any adjustment. So you want to make sure that this is either all the way down and your adjustment is only out, or somewhere in the center and you can make an adjustment both ways. And the easiest way to test that is to put a drill and a big socket on here, crank it all the way in, crank it all the way out, get an understanding to what that stroke is, and just make sure you're somewhere in the center. Let's get some braces installed. All right, you saw there on time lapse, these things go up pretty easily until you get chalked in because you're doing a small addition and you brought your material in before your braces. And yes, I'm gonna beat everyone to this comment. That was really stupid for me to do these braces first, because now I got to cross around them. I should have started in that corner and worked my way around. But hey, sometimes you just get going after it and you go tick, tick on it. You know what you want to call yourself. I did not put the braces in the corner yet. I marked 2 spots there. I really don't think I need 2 spots. So I think I'm going to go in the center of those. And I can take, since it's screwed to the wall, unlock it, fold that up out of the way, get the other one in there. But that walk board is going to have to be a slight bit higher or a slight bit lower, because you see how far this comes out. It comes out further than that one there. So I'll have to adjust this either over it or under it, and I think I'll go over it and do the same thing in that corner. I really want to get 2 on this one to control the corner and to control the door. You can see how a door opening makes it a little bit more flimsy. The corner should be good and tight, but I want to make sure that's also straight, square, and plumb before I ever start pouring in those corners. And then over here, the only difference that you do is you screw the brace to the 2x4 instead of screwing the brace to the foam stud or the plastic studs within the foam. So that's the only difference over here, but I'm gonna get the rest of these braces. Oh, and over here, I have to measure my 20 foot and confirm it to ensure I don't need to shim my common to get my 20 feet, or use that brace to adjust the wall out and then strap it. But I don't have my strapping across this common. Again, strapping being a board that spans 2 studs on both sides minimum, and then this brace will screw to this strapping. So that will come a little bit later because I have not pulled my 20 foot dimension yet. I wanted to get my braces on, because no matter if you got 2 people or not, as you put these braces up, you're constantly wiggling that wall, so there's no reason to measure it beforehand. Might as well get your braces on there, and then if I do need to make an adjustment with those corner braces, ultimately you're going to screw these feet down. You're going to put a screw here and you're going to put a screw here once you get your wall where you like it, and then I can adjust that outside corners left and right to separate that common if I need to, put some outward pressure on it, and then drive a wedge in there if I have to get my 20 feet if I'm not there already. That common has been pretty good and snug, so I feel like I'm pushing it out, but you never know. So we got to confirm that. But we get the rest of these braces on, and then I'll show you guys the walkboard setup, and then we'll start stacking again. Well, I don't know how much of that time lapse you guys got to see. For some reason it stopped recording. But I got this brace on to control that wall. I got that brace on. You guys can see how close that is there. I mean, they are darn near touching. They're about a 1/4 inch apart right there. So that's going to work out pretty good. And I believe that's close enough to the corner. I am going to send a picture to DP. He's done a lot more of this than I have, just to confirm. I honestly don't know how I'd get one in there on that corner. And the corners are normally pretty daggone good. It's just a matter of you start your corners pre-pour straight and plumb. So that's a key. I did measure my 20 foot and I am a 1/4 inch short. So I'm going to drive some shims in these 2 here to spread that out. And I can also help myself if that doesn't get it all out of it by pushing that brace out just a little bit, because that's honestly about an 1/8 inch out of plumb, and that's about an 1/8 inch out of plumb. So the darn thing is pretty daggone close. And then Mom knew I was doing some tough stuff, so she came and checked on me. She's gonna stand in the shade for a little bit and make sure that I don't fall out on the floor. Gotta love it when your parents stop by. So next step now is to drive those shims in, spread that wall out. 1/4 inch is all I got to get out of it. Get the strapping on this common here behind me, and then we can put our walk boards across the top so that tomorrow morning I can come here and stack out and put the remaining straps on and be ready for pour. Let's get this wall spread. All right, so I'm gonna start on the inside here, drive wedges in between, and you gotta keep in mind, once you get this spread out, you're gonna wanna strap it. So you gotta put your wedges in a point where you can get your board in the center and hold it there. And remember, we only need 1/4 of an inch, and the best way for me to measure it is on the outside. We can get a guesstimate of a dimension. Oh, don't lose your hammer in the wall, you'll never get it back. So if you start on 1 inch, it's a lot easier to read to 1/4. That right there gave me a 1/4 inch gap. So now I'm gonna walk around to the outside and we'll measure and see if we're 20 feet now. So I do not want this thing off. If this is off, the next one's off. Let's not do that. So let's hook right here on the outside corner. The outside dimension is 20 feet, as you guys have heard me say numerous times. Pull that nice and tight. Ooh, looks like we've got about 1/8 to go. Now, be mindful when you drive shims on the inside and get a 1/4 inch out of it, that doesn't mean that it's moving the outside wall. So I'm gonna walk around the outside there and drive 2 shims in on the outside. I can measure the width of this wall, do some math. It's exactly 11 inches. So on the inside, if I was to hook corner to corner, I should be, and the braces are there, so it's a little bit harder, but I should then be able to take 22 inches from 20 feet. So let me drive some shims on the outside and we'll pull a new dimension. You guys saw how tight that joint was before I put shims in there. You can see the gap on the outside now too. It created a really nice gap. Yes, you do get some deflection off of the styrofoam, but you keep driving them shims in there. We've now measured in here, it should be 18'2". We are dead nuts there. If we come around here to the outside, it is a much bigger gap than what it was, and I'm not saying it's crazy because that is no big deal at all, but I can get my finger in there now, whereas before that was tight. And that's what it took to get 20 foot outside to outside. This sucker is now dead nuts on. So let's ensure it stays there, and how you do that is by putting strapping on your common. I'll show you guys one of those. It's just like every other strapping, 2 studs minimum. I know you guys hear me say that a lot, but it's the fact of the matter. 1, 2, 1, 2, I'm getting 3 out of that one, which is fine. Again, you want it in the center of your block. Oops, if you can keep it there. This is a piece of plywood over a hole, just so you're aware. Get that one screwed in. Get this one screwed in. Now that's going to hold it, but that's not enough. And you run a screw in all the studs that it covers. That way, you know, it's not going to go anywhere.
Is this what you're using?
Yep, those are the straps. Well, just so you guys are aware, I will put one on every course, but to hold this wall in place so I can pull them shims back out of there and get this last brace in here, I want to go every other, and then I will put the rest of the straps in place. I don't know about you guys, but this is the moment I've been waiting for. Last brace. And it'll probably be the biggest pain in the butt, even though none of them have been a pain in the butt. Be rough with it, kick that foot down. And you always want a brace directly on your common. My shims are sticking out just a little too far, so I need to pull those. The hammer's right there next to the impact or drill. Now that we have it crutched off, we really don't need these.
I got this.
5 screws and the braces are done. What you guys see me kicking the bottoms, I know you might have seen that on time lapse. There are lines in this foam. I want this brace to be as straight as I can get it, so I just eyeball down the side of the brace to line it up with those lines. We almost put that strapping in the wrong spot. Thank goodness it's wood. I can keep from dropping them. That one is in the wrong spot. That's all right. We got one down there on the bottom. There it is, last brace. Now we got to get some 2x12 walkboards up there, and I'm calling it. I'm not stacking anything today. Well, there you have it. All the braces are up, not completely screwed in place. So I got to make some adjustments to the wall and then screw the feet down. But we got our walkboards on there. So tomorrow morning, my plan would be to get here way before it gets hot, get the feet to the braces screwed down, ensure that that is all ready to go, and start to finish the stack out. That makes today's video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. And as always, like, comment, subscribe.